Hey guys, welcome to the Higher Minds Network. This is one of our shows, Universal Teachings, with our good buddy and star brother Aha Kitini, also known as Jaguar. A little bit about kind of the format and the way we want to allow everyone to experience this setup is starting off with a little bit more of an abstract idea, such as karma or oversouls or something a little bit more open-ended, and then working our way into a more linear and everyday practical use of the impartations and teachings that we get given to us. And Aha touched on last time. He is a fifth dimensional or fourth density path, fourth density Lyran, who is incredibly wise and loving and has been only beneficial to us for his wisdom and words, and we're really glad to have him back, and he's really excited, I know, to experience with all of us and co-create. And if anybody has any thoughts or quick little questions they want to ask now before I pass it to Aha and let him give some of his 2 cents. Does everyone need anyone need any more clarity on kind of how the structuring the show goes? I'm going to leave it a little bit more towards the Q&A, more towards the end of the show, and kind of let the concepts and the theme of the show be presented and clarified for people, and then more towards the end, kind of more macro-oriented questions I think are best for this structuring. And then when we get into the personalized practical use, of course, if you want to ask how do I do a certain mantra or breathing technique, we can go into to things of that nature in more detail. But Aha, I'll pass the mic to you and let you introduce yourself, or Jaguar, whenever you're ready to bring Aha through. We're ready.
Greetings.
Namaste.
Greetings.
Namaste. Greetings to all. It is, as always in these gatherings, a very high excitement and honor to be in your presence, and I'm quite excited for the synchronicities that are happening at this time of your experience, for having presences gathering today, for our ongoing process of experimentation with format, with structure, so that we can achieve higher levels of efficiency and effectiveness to benefit all that are involved and all that will come to these recordings.
I agree. So Aha, I'm totally flexible with letting you kind of start the movement of what we want to be discussing things first. I sent over, and Jaguar has the list of questions, but if you have a certain topic, abstract topic, open topic that you feel really resonates for this now, please, by all means, take the baton.
Yes. One moment, please.
Of course.
For the time being, I prefer to leave questions aside and to move into an idea I find most exciting.
Of course.
That idea is the idea of self-awareness. Do you resonate with this idea?
Yes.
Very well. Self-awareness. These are words that I understand hold many different possibilities of meaning. And first I would like to clarify the definition I am using when I bring these words forward. Self-awareness in the sense of being truly inhabiting your body, truly present in the here and now of your experience in this life that you are experiencing as human beings. So from that perspective and that definition, I wish to ground today's exploration. For I wish also to share that in these kinds of gatherings, within the movement that has been called many things such as the New Age, Ascension, and many other words, there are many choices of paths that can be, let's call them, less effective and less efficient for individuals to achieve their own realization of who they truly are. Of course, any path is valid, yet not all paths hold the highest levels of effectiveness and efficiency. And as you probably know, this is something that excites me personally. I do not mean that all must seek to be effective and efficient, but those who truly resonate with those ideas may find this sharing useful for them. And it is for them that I will share today, and that I am in this planet to establish contact with. So on to this idea of self-awareness. It is a very simple idea. There are many practices we shall explore later that are also very simple. So simple that they can seem too simple. And this key idea of simplicity is something that I wish for you to hold. If you choose to do so, of course, in your heart. For things need not be complicated or complex to be effective. To help you be present, be here, be now, and be aware of your true nature. Many times in the process of spiritual exploration, let's call it, there are many complexities that are, from my perspective, unnecessary. So, Gordon, would you like to share your perspective on self-awareness and how you are excited by this idea and you would like me to address some perspective on the idea?
I think for me, for a lot of people, the biggest first step is defining what self is and defining what awareness is.
Very well. Would you like me to share my perspective on those ideas, or would you like to share yours first?
Please, go ahead.
That is a very good point. For again, the definitions one holds, may them be conscious or unconscious, constitute the filter through which experience is formative. The definitions I am using when I speak the word self and the word awareness. Very well. Self, what I mean by self in this context of today's exploration, is the self that you are in this life. Of course, there is an expanded or extended, or you could even bring in the idea of infinite sense of self. We could call this infinite sense of self a spiritual, full, complete sense of self. Yet it is not to that that I am referring to, Although I do not exclude that, I today choose to focus on the primary, you could call, sense of self here, now, in this planet. For there is a subtle, we could call it, trap for human beings to shift their attention and their focus in their lives out of their physical experience and quote unquote get lost in higher dimensions, or even one could say run away from their experience in 3D and use higher D as a refuge, as a way to escape their learning processes, their experiencing processes in this life. Is that clear and making sense so far, Gordon?
Yes.
You see, it is from the perspective of humans that I wish to be of assistance today, and that is my highest excitement in this moment. To assist human beings in realizing that this life is your life, and it need not be perceived as less than higher D, higher frequency lives. This is a fundamental misconception from my perspective. Your lives in this planet are as valuable, at least as valuable, as any other parallel lives you are having. And I wish not for you to get caught, quote unquote, in the trap of losing your awareness, of shifting your focus in a way that is not beneficial for you. On to the definition of awareness. What I mean by awareness, given this groundwork, is remaining present from inside your body to realize that your body is a wonderful seat of experience and that you have many layers of perception ability. Not only your thinking mind, your emotional guidance system, your intuition, and many other layers of your body are able, if you allow them to, if you explore them, if you use them, if you exercise them, to develop themselves and bring you the capability to be aware in a more, we could say, integrated, in a more whole way, so that you can express the fullness of what it is to be a human being, not just a thinking mind, not just a feeling emotions, but all of those and much, much more. Does this resonate so far?
Yes.
Very well. These are the definitions I am using when I speak of the ideas and words, when I use the words self-awareness. So on to exploring the idea of self-awareness. Many ideas have already been put forth in a sense. Self-awareness is something that is, at its core, from my perspective, the key of what it is to be human. It could be said that if you are self-aware, if you are present in your body with all of the capabilities you hold to perceive, you are living fully as a human being. On the other hand, if you are not, for example, if you are constricting your mental capabilities, if you are constricting your emotional capabilities or others, you are, let's say, chopping off a part of yourself. You are holding back a part of yourself. So you see, awareness and self are ultimately closely tied. It is said in your planet, you are what you eat. I would provoke you by saying you are what you perceive. So if you perceive in a fuller way, you are fuller self. If you constrict part of your perception abilities, you are a lesser self, or a lesser expression or experience of yourself. Are you resonating to this quote?
Yes, I mean, that deeply resonates, and I think for a lot of us, and especially people who have really truly opened up their minds and mentalities to this understanding of lightening up and enlightening, and have realized that a major part of being able to do that had to start from a base root of how you perceive everything. In a sense, it's the amino acid of what builds up our psyche. You know, it's the building block. The perception turns into a habit, which turns into a behavior, and science has now shown us, you know, neuroplasticity and what we think it, what you fire together wires together. So that perception and how you think it is so critical. You know, it is the initial step, so to speak, to forming your being, your human beingness.
Yes. I'm very excited that your science has been revealing some of these understandings that, in a sense, as a species, you already hold in many of your wisdom traditions, as we have explored in the last session. Yes, thank you for that. On to more practical aspects of this idea. As I have stated before, I wish for these sessions to become more and more effective for the people that will come to them and will watch the recordings, so that we may achieve higher levels of acceleration for individuals and the collective. This is my excitement, to help people help themselves shift into their truest expression of themselves. So I wish not for us to get, let's say, one moment. I prefer for us to use formats that are aligned with that intent of efficiency and effectiveness. So on that note, I would like now for us to experiment with these ideas. Let's shift from the abstract, conceptual, head-centered exploration of these ideas and try and actually achieve to bring them into practice, into now and into the body, to bring them into each cell. So I would invite you all that are attending to close your eyes, try and achieve as comfortable and at the same time straight, correct posture that you are able to without strain, being comfortable, and focus your attention in your whole body and draw a little bit more of that awareness into your heart and into your belly, into your solar plexus and sacral plexus regions, so that as you breathe in, you feel the air and the shift in your muscles, in your tissues, down in your belly and sacral plexus, and then when you breathe out, you feel the movement and you focus on the air's movement. And let's hold that very ancient and simple practice for a few moments. At this moment of your time, it is correct for me to ask for permission and consent to all that are attending now, so that we may achieve as a collective higher levels of synchronization and entrainment. So I would ask for each of you to unmute yourselves one at a time and say if you consent or not for the following step, that is to deepen our telepathic connection so that we may ground these ideas into experience and practice.
I welcome it.
I welcome it.
Sure.
Yes.
You have my consent as well.
I do.
Yes, I do too.
Gordon, are all in agreement?
I believe so.
Very well. Very well. That is very exciting. So let's continue with this practice while holding the intent of achieving higher levels of attunement with each other so that we may benefit each other by sharing this practice and deepening our understanding of its effects. So as you breathe in, you realize and you bring your awareness to your whole body. As you breathe out, you expand while maintaining that grounded awareness of your body here, now, in the space that you are. With each breath, these two aspects expand and complement each other. So you expand and you are grounded at the same time. You do not get lost. You do not leave your body. You are firmly grounded and highly expanded at the same time. Yes, this is very exciting. Congratulations to all. Now you have, for those who hadn't experienced it so far in this form, a new tool, so to speak, to practice with. Not just an idea and a memory to hold, but an actual tool to use in your everyday life. This is something that excites me deeply, and it's something that I wish for you to take, quote unquote, from these gatherings. Practical techniques, practical experiences that you may at any time, if you choose to, use for your benefit, and when you do, benefit all. Gordon, I'm aware that Sabrina is holding the role of timekeeper. Is my understanding correct?
This is correct.
Sabrina, how are we in terms of time?
14 after. So you have another 15 minutes.
Yes, this is very exciting. We're being very effective with our use of time. We are progressing rapidly, Gordon. I congratulate you for that, and congratulate all, and thank all for you are assisting with this new way of experimenting with formats. This is very exciting, and I thank you for that. Very well. Now I would open space for others to share their perspective on this idea of self-awareness. I'm aware that Roxie is present and has consented to, let's say, parallel co-creative channeling, so I would invite her, if she is excited to do so, to bring her perspective into this topic of self-awareness with her own preferences and practices and techniques for the benefit of all.
Anyone else have anything before I go that they want to speak upon this idea of self-awareness?
Actually, there's something that I'm a little confused about.
Go ahead,
So if
Mike.
I understand correctly, the self, as Aha Kitini refers to, is basically the 3D self, and the awareness is the perception with our 5 senses, so to speak. So if I get that correctly, then the purpose of the self to be more aware of is to be more human in that sense. So wouldn't that contradict things like channeling or connecting with higher entities?
That's interesting.
Thank you for opening up that space, Roxy, for you were sensing that more clarity is needed before moving forward. I thank you for that.
Yes, Michael, if you are more of yourself as a human being, then that enriches your life in the fashion of the experience in and of itself, because you chose this experience to understand the complexities, the abilities, the perspectives of being the incarnation as a human through all of yourselves in that fashion, truly. The fractal that you're experiencing now, and the limitation in and of itself, is only giving you the partial reality of what it is to be human. So the more you encompass and embrace the idea of humanity, you broaden your own senses and its abilities beyond the limitation of humanity, i.e. telepathy, i.e. awareness of your environment and vibration instead of, let's say, sight, smell, hear, sound, touch, and taste. You get yourself in an awareness of understanding, sensing, and let's say the fluidity of the now instead of the obligation of time. There's always a wisdom in the presence of the moment that is an understanding, a, let's say, resonating knowingness of yourself that is present. And the deeper you accept yourself as a human, that you came here, that you love yourself, that you want to be yourself, that you chose, oh yes, chose to be a human, and everything that is happening to you is because you chose it, in other words, it's happening for you and not to you, then that will enrich your humanity self. And I understand your contradiction in a ways, because we are in a human trying to get away from us to be an alien, to be our, let's say, our Pleiadian selves, or our Lyran hybrid reptilian ideas, on and on and on and on. But what the true idea here is to, that I feel that we are getting the message from, is to be more human, to understand your whole self, because that only reveals, gives you the revelation, the remembrance of yourself, because your entire self is in this focus. So is there anything lacking of all that is with this in this moment? Oh no. You are most certainly present, all of yourselves, not only in your mind, your thought, your awareness of that you are existing, but as well as your physical cells, your remembrance in your DNA, in your cell, of all of your lives of being a human, and i.e. everything else you've always experienced, your soul memory complex, if you will. So in that fashion, don't look at it as a contradictory, look at it as an aspect of being both. But the more you enrich the bubble of love that you call humanity, the more you realize the abilities, the probabilities, the aspects of humanity, giving you the full experience of humanity, therefore waking up to humanity. And maybe you won't choose to come back again if you understand everything in its fullness before you depart this idea of humanity. Make sense?
In a way, so it's not about the separation, but more the integration, about things like
Because
letting go.
you have been disintegrated, haven't you? The separation idea is disintegration, but now you are choosing to integrate. So ideally, you don't want to chop off your arm because your arm is part of you. But now let's broaden that internal awareness to chop off your abilities of senses, gut feelings, women's intuition, men's gut feeling in that fashion. Everything that you've always been aware of. Hairs raised on the back of your neck before you walk into a room. I shouldn't be here. The idea of knowing what person's going to say and then they say it. But we've always discounted that, and we've, let's say, taken the God out of ourselves and given it to authority of another. But bringing it back to yourself to remember yourself gives you all the ability of yourself. So once again, you are integrating yourself back to and using the channel, the means, the awareness of this incarnation known as, once again, humanity.
So basically, it's about self-empowerment.
Oh, yes.
Remembering and allowing the things that you are capable of doing without putting yourself in sort of a victim role or a limiting role.
Oh, yes.
Just allowing the fullness of it.
Absolutely, but let me tell you this, most assuredly, there are no victims, there are no villains. Oh no. Everything is a choice to experience, to remember, to choose the perception of that experience to give you the expansion of self. So once you're done with an idea of humanity that becomes experience, no need to circle it around again for security or repetition or safety or a good time to be relived because I'm sad in the now. Be now and expand into the unknown of yourself, and that's what enriches the excitement of experience, the excitement of expansion, the excitement of seeing what I am in my fullness instead of the partial limitation I perceive to the dogma of the outside limiting me. That's why you're here. Be that human that you are, and that will only lead to home. That will lead to your journey to remembrance of all the selves that you are. Every single now you've experienced is all right there in that wonderful mind of yours. Does that make sense, Doll?
Yeah, so by following your highest excitement, you get where you need to go.
Oh, very much so. And if
Okay,
you don't perceive it, and if you don't perceive it as your highest excitement, yet you're fearful and you make that fearful choice, then truly that was your highest excitement. But that highest excitement was in that now. So let's not judge any past hindsight 2020. Every judgment is your best, highest excitement in the moments. Every action, every now. Continue those nows and hold on to no obligation or investment of the past, because that will continue the limitation of a truth that you held on to that will now condition your future according to the now and the perception of the now. So continue in your nows of excitement, even if they shift from 1 minute to the next, to the next, to the next. None can be wrong. And as we talked about earlier, guess what? All paths lead to home. There are less arduous paths, oh, most certainly, but there is never a wrong path. There is only your perception of the path. But the path is humanity. You're here. Are you aware you're here right now? Are you hearing, smelling, feeling, broadening your expansion, your mind, thinking? Are you aware of your own isness in this now? I'm asking.
Yes, I am.
And there you go. That self-awareness as a human is your exploration of all that is. So embrace this instead of looking at, like you said, a victim. Why is this happening to me? Because you chose it. So shift that to me to for me. And that gives you a new vibrational sense of comfort, of serenity, to move forward in your nows with excitement and vigor and vitality of the isness that you are. And most certainly use that power point of now to create your reality. And do not worry about being egoish in a particular moment, because if that is your highest excitement, then be that. And that will shift to the awareness of the ego. And that will shed the ego into the separation, or rather from the separation, into the isness of the one. That is just part of your journey. So once again, there is no judgment. There is only you in the now. Be that.
May I add something to it?
Oh, very much so. There is always more the merrier, yes?
All right. Well, thank
Go
you.
ahead, Bill.
For me, to be aware in simple terms is just to be in that state of joy, and to understand that we have everything within ourselves. It is to find or to understand the light within us, the universe within. And the way we are in this 3D form is just that we are wearing a human skin suit. Underneath that suit, we are spiritual beings, we have spirits. And it is to be in that spirit state and to experience everything that we experience, whether it be love, joy, pain, suffering. It is just to be from that state and to observe and to be aware of it, but knowing that you are the absolute strength, that you are the God within, that you are the universe within. It is to be present and work from that state of being is what it is to be self-aware to me.
To be aware, that's beautiful.
Thank you for your sharing. Are these ideas clear to all so far? Are there aspects of them that are not resonating fully, that need more clarification for anyone? Very well. I assume.
We have.
Very well. Go ahead, Sabrina.
You have 5 minutes left.
Thank you, and thank you, Rowie, for your feedback. I assume everyone is clear at this point. I choose to compress these ideas and these explorations into a critical point I have pointed out before and that I wish to reinforce at this time. Yes, a human being is a form that is holding universal awareness within it. It could be said from a 3D perspective. At the same time, these two levels, the human form, the body, the vehicle, the suit, the whatever you choose to call it, from within one moment. From within, you are having the experience, is equally as important as the spiritual essence that is, in a sense, inhabiting it. So, in other words, the ghost and the shell are as important. And today's key idea is that the body has awareness. The form is intelligent, and it is able to navigate in this plane of experience if we let it to its own devices. What I mean to say with these ideas, in other words, is that many of us humans have been conditioned throughout our lives through the forces of culture, peers, families, governments, and other supposed authority structures that come from outside to comply and to give our own forms, discernment, and decision ability away. And this is, from my perspective, suboptimal when one is living as a human being, giving away his decision and discernment abilities. One is expressing oneself and experiencing oneself and this experience of humanity in suboptimal conditions. So I would suggest lovingly that you experiment with being aware, inhabiting your body fully, bringing your awareness to the fullness of this form that is being a human being, and experiment the fullness of the awareness that you are able, if you allow yourself to perceive yourself as much more than just your thoughts. For the thoughts that you think you are thinking, you are not actually thinking. It is the thoughts that are thinking you, in a sense. And these ideas might seem puzzling for the mind at the first stage, but I choose now to leave them and in a further exploration see what they have brought in the meantime.
When you discuss experimenting with it, are you leaving that very open-ended as far as anything we feel on that now, or are there any certain techniques or practices you can pass on?
Very well. It was a form of open exploration for each to explore with his or her own choice. I can nonetheless share some ways of exploring it in a more linear format, if that is desirable. One of those ways is, again, a very simple yet powerful if used diligently, that is known in your planet as watching your thoughts. Rather, to be more exact, watching the thoughts, for many of them are not yours, as I said before. In a sense that you are not thinking them, you're not having thoughts, it is the thoughts that are thinking you into existence. But these are, as I said before, explorations I wish to leave for future opportunities. Again, to watch the thoughts, one technique could be to visualize the flow of thoughts as you do when you are watching cinema, television, or even photography, or painting, if you're at an art gallery or an exhibit. So to realize that whatever form it flows through you, may that be visual, thoughts, images, may they be sounds, words and sounds, each one of you are different and have different experiences of what thought is for you. So whatever that experience is, to step back within yourself, so to speak, and watch. Simply watch. May that be, as I said, watching an image or hearing a sound. It does not matter. Whatever works for you would be my suggestion for you to practice during this next block of time. Experience with watching, listening, observing your thoughts, or rather, and again to be more precise, the thoughts, for many of them are not yours.
So to truly be the observer, we must be out of the ego mind then?
Those are very important ideas and useful. I do not wish to engage with them at this time. I would only say that the only thing, in a sense, that you need to be the observer, if you would prefer that format, is to observe, is to practice observing, whatever perspective you choose or prefer. Experiment with it. Stick with it. Be consistent for a while and see where it takes you, quote unquote. See, experience what happens merely. And this would be also a key point. Without engaging and identifying with the thoughts. This is the key idea. To realize that yes, as humans, there are thoughts running through your head, but you are not those thoughts. From a human perspective, you have thoughts, but you are not the thought. You are the experiencer of the thought. Do not identify yourself with the thought, for that brings many misidentifications, we could say. And this ties and closes the circle, in a sense, to the beginning of this transmission. The awareness of yourself is to be aware that you are here and now. Here and now, that awareness is independent of the thoughts that are passing through your head. Rather, I would suggest the more you are self-aware, the less in your head you are, and the more in your body you are. And this is not in any way to disregard the head center, the mind, and its abilities. It is to bring to balance other abilities and to focus on them so that you are, as has been expressed today so eloquently, an integrated human being, not a head on a stick, if you would like. Your body is not a vehicle for your head to go to meetings, as one of your teachers has said before. Your body is this life. The vehicle is the human experience. Love it, respect it, regard it as what makes this now as a human possible. Does that resonate? Does that address the ideas you're bringing forth?
Yes, that deeply resonates. And namaste and blessings. I know our time is starting to get wrapped up. So if you'd like to give a blessing or an impartation as a sign-off for us, love and light from all of us, and thank you once again for sharing this now.
Thank you. I have spoken enough for today. I would invite someone else, maybe Sabrina, maybe Roxy or whoever feels excited with that idea to close our meeting today with a blessing. Sabrina, you are wishing to speak. Please.
Yes, I had written something that actually it applies sort of to what we were speaking today.
What
So
a synchronicity. Such beauty in that.
yes. So it goes, am I the thought behind the thought? Am I the being thinking the thought? Am I the universe desiring to know itself? Am I the self creating a universe? Am I the one wishing to know itself? Am I the universe loving itself? Am I the one?
Beautiful questions. Roxy, would you like to close?
That was beautiful, Sabrina. First, let me give you that. I just absolutely love those questions. Those really gave a new facet of the diamond for all to explore.
Yes, very valid questions.
And to answer real quickly with Gordon, if you want to understand, this is my perspective and a practicum I put into place. When I become less of me, I become more of me. In other words, when I become less of my ego, my identification, my self-sustaining identification to the world for any reason other than love, then when I become less of that, I become more of my own love, my own self, my own exploration. And all that ties into what Sabrina just said. So there you go.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want me to finish with the blessing? Or do you want...
No, you go ahead. Go ahead, Roxy.
Okay, so we're going to end now. Is that right? I'm sorry. I was just wondering.
Yes. I'm aware that... I'm sorry to interrupt, Roxy.
No,
I'm
please.
aware that also synchronistically, Sabrina has received a few more, let's call them blocks of information today. So I would invite you to do the blessing you are excited to do now, and then for Sabrina to allow herself to express herself if she feels so excited to do.
Yes, sure.
Yes. Okay, I'll finish with the blessing, and this is going to come from... Oh, very interesting. Stand by. Chinio komata hienotoshna. Kinio no na yatoma hinishnoto koshnoto yana yamoto yanati yako. Oshnaro. To the incarnations, the entities, that you see yourselves in this moment of reflection as a human, from all the collective of all the nows, the one, the all, we would like to give you these words of understanding and choose them however you choose to perceive them. You are the blessing of the universe. You have chosen the division between you and yourselves, the Creator. There is no other incarnation that can be expressed in this fashion save humanity. Your work will be resounded through all the nows for your braveness, your acceptance to ascend an entire civilization with only the love of each other. You have our blessings. Koshna Moriata Adone. That's it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Namaste.